And Iran's strategy in responding to U.S.-Israeli strikes has quickly become apparent since war broke out last weekend. Iranian military, they have been targeting the air defenses of both U.S. and its allies along the Arabian Peninsula. Here's CNN's Tamara Kiblawi, who's been following the situation very closely.
Iran's war strategy is becoming clearer by the day. The apparent heart of that strategy, trying to neutralize the air defenses of the U.S. and its allies in the Arabian Peninsula by striking the radars, which trigger the interceptors, which then take out Iranian missiles and drones. In this Iranian propaganda video from 2020, Iran's elite Revolutionary Guards use a mock-up of an American air defense radar as target practice. Now Iran is putting those plans into action. New satellite images show us how Tehran's forces seek to erode the protective shield of its adversaries. Here's what we know. All these components make up an American early warning system in Jordan. It's completely destroyed. A $500 million radar system struck by Iran or by its allied militant groups. This is the centerpiece of THAAD, the crown jewel of America's surface-to-air defense systems. So what does this radar do? First, it warns of an incoming ballistic missile. Then it sends a signal that launches THAAD interceptors out of the Earth's atmosphere, where it strikes the projectile mid-flight. In Qatar, another radar system is hit. This one, an arresting three-face structure worth $1.1 billion. You can see debris under one of the faces. This is the side that points north towards Iran. In Saudi Arabia, thick smoke rises from a complex that normally shelters a THAAD radar. We don't know if the system was destroyed, but it's more evidence of Iran's designs to take out the crucial technology.
It's not just the early warning systems, it's also the interceptors themselves. One Gulf Arab source, interceptors that have fended off the barrage of rockets are expected to reach critically low levels of supplies over the next week. The source describes this as a race against time.
But the Islamic Republic still has a long way to go to ensure its survival. The UAE, one of the primary targets of Iran's attacks, insists that its interceptor stockpiles remain robust. Israel and the U.S. have clobbered Iran's weapons warehouses and launchers, causing Iran's forces to fire around 90% fewer missiles since the start of the war, according to the Pentagon. By throwing its might into trying to render U.S. allies in the region defenseless, Iran hopes it can expedite the end to this war and cut its own losses.
As the U.S.-Israeli war in Iran intensifies in scale, so too does that battle for information. You see, within Iran, state media, they have been pushing an alternative narrative of military superiority through the combination of AI-generated images and propagandist claims. Here's CNN's Nada Bashir with more.
As the US-Israeli war against Iran rages on, a war of narratives is also playing out. While some US officials are attempting to downplay the scope of this latest deadly military offensive,
we're not at war right now.
The Iranian regime's propaganda machine is in full swing, portraying a resolute image of strength. Despite days of intense bombardment by the US and Israeli militaries, and the death toll within Iran already surpassing 1,000, according to one human rights group. Propaganda has long been a powerful tool in the Iranian regime's arsenal, and state media has been working around the clock to inflate the success of the regime's counter-offensive, framing attacks on US and Israeli assets in the region as being on an unprecedented scale. But how accurate is this framing? Iran's counterattacks have been significant in both scope and impact, successfully targeting military, diplomatic and civilian infrastructure in the region. But misinformation has also been rife from the outset of this war. Iranian leaders have, for example, portrayed attacks on Israel as having completely decimated cities and key military assets. One parliamentary representative claimed that all Israeli security and intelligence centers were being struck by Iranian missiles. And in this social media post from Iran's Secretary of the Supreme National Security Council, Ali Larijani, He claims that more than 500 US soldiers have been killed in just the last few days. In reality, 6 US service members are confirmed to have died during this war so far. AI-enhanced images have also circulated across social media, including an AI-manipulated image claiming to show a destroyed American radar installation in Qatar. The unverified claim was also shared in an article by the Tehran Times newspaper. It is false claims like this that have spread doubt amongst international audiences over the veracity of attacks both inside Iran and beyond.
With AI, we have this concept of the liar's dividend. The liar's dividend is basically the term of art for the benefit that accrues bad actors when they sow public uncertainty, and they basically question if anything can be real.
Iranian state media has also, as expected, been highly selective in its coverage. Take, for example, the devastating attack on Iran's Minab Elementary School, which killed more than 100 young girls, according to state media. The widespread coverage of the aftermath and the mass funeral held for the victims is a stark contrast from the regime's response to the thousands reportedly killed earlier this year during anti-regime protests.
When the burials of, the hundreds of girls was done, they had aerial shots of the burials. They had tons of footage and photography of the mass kind of crowds attending the funerals and the burials. And you have compare it to the deaths of the protesters in January, where people couldn't get even the bodies of their children. They weren't allowed to have burials or funerals.
Of course, both the US and Israel are also striving to shape the coverage of this latest conflict in a never-ending battle to control the narrative.
播报新闻是我的日常，必须时刻保持妆容和皮肤的最佳状态。当来到人生中最重要的时刻，也是 KS 逆时奇迹帮助我轻松驾驭，闪闪发光。KS 逆时奇迹活肤露全效精华、精华霜，多达5种 EGF。6大冻龄关键成分，保湿效果让我非常满意，小细纹也不再困扰我。我就是我自己的最佳女主角 ，KS 让我从容自信，光彩动人。我是我人生中的大女主，我的最爱我做主。KS 逆时奇迹系列热卖中，下单请上快点购，透过中天新闻网 App 下单立减50，或输入 CTI 推荐码有额外折扣。